Starting now until January 4th, we are going to be having a display of displaying artifacts of Richard Claude Shacklett, which happens to be my dad. And he was one of the early photographers in our area who really caught the vision and to document all of this wonderful area that we had. And he had really kind of a diverse life and diverse talent. Dad's career really evolved in a number of ways. He began as a roll film developer for one of the early photographers, Leo Farrell, during high school when he was 16 years old. He went to work for him. But then later on, as his love of photography evolved, and just the chemistry of photography and the techniques of that day, he became quite accomplished as an artist and a photo artist. And back then, there was no way to achieve color except through hand tinting them or painting them. And that's why I thought I'm really focusing on that particularly lost art. He was very gifted at that. That is why this is on display, because it is a lost art, and particularly the nature, the scenics that he did in southern Idaho and in Middle Tennessee. You're going to see in the exhibit his love for wildflowers and just nature in general, because really that was what really, I guess, why he wanted to be a photographer, is to document some of the things that he loved in nature.
There are numerous nature photos on display in the exhibit, and two of them, Christy points out, have interesting backstories.
In 1952, Dad was selected as the Wildlife Photographer of the Year because of a picture that he had taken of a rainbow trout hitting a fly. It was used as a promotional piece for the Idaho trout industry. There was another photo. He photographed a deer, a buck, coming down. He had watched this deer come down the mountain into his blind where he was, and he's just a few inches away from this deer. And you know, back then, they're very poorly, the equipment was poor, the telephoto lenses were not really refined then. So he's really looking at that deer. That buck is right eyeball to eyeball.
The exhibit, called Richard C. Shacklett, More Than a Photographer, also coincides with Shacklett's 100th birthday. In looking back on his life is also like a scrapbook of Murfreesboro's rich history that he and his family have helped preserve.
As everyone knows, we are changing rapidly, not only in our community, but also in our nation. And you know, we have such a vast, rapidly changing even world. And I think that's one of the reasons why we need to protect and preserve our history, because it anchors us. Daddy was always about that, and I think prior to that, in his growing up, he was made sensitive to that, I guess, ideal by his family and the folks that he grew up in the community. He loved his country, he loved his community. In fact, one of the things you're going to get to see on display here in this room is the actual county seal that he actually created, the county seal for, he did it for the bicentennial in 1976. And then it was adopted as the official county seal in 1983.
Shacklett served in the Army Air Corps during World War II. As with so many others, the war took its toll on him, so much so that he wrote a poem that's also featured in the exhibit.
Dad became really concerned about World War II, and so also in our exhibit is the poem that he wrote, Of Those That Will Be Free. He and my mother are on the ridge there, and they're looking over into White Sands, and it's just an amazing. It's a prophetic poem. I mean, Hiroshima hadn't happened, Nagasaki, none of that had happened. It was just him explaining, trying to creatively have an outlet for what he saw was happening, but not being able to even talk about it. In fact, he never really talked about it. But the poem expresses all of that energy and creativity right there. So you want to see that too.
The Richard C. Shacklett More Than a Photographer exhibit will be on display at the Community Gallery inside Patterson Park until January 4th.